if you are here right now, I really feel like there is something in this message that you are meant to hear, especially if you have been in no contact with someone and the silence has been feeling heavy, confusing, and honestly, a little bit painful. Okay, because with this first card, the Four of Swords, there is a very strong energy of stillness. But listen carefully, because this is not empty stillness. This is not nothing happening. This is the kind of silence where everything looks calm on the outside, but internally there is so much going on. And I feel like that is exactly what they did not want you to know. They wanted you to think they were fine. They wanted you to think they were unbothered. They wanted you to believe that they could just carry on, do their normal routine, go to work, scroll on their phone, go out, laugh with people, act normal, and not feel anything. But the Four of Swords is showing me that this person is not as calm as they are pretending to be. They are in their head. They are replaying things. They are lying there, sitting there, driving somewhere, standing in a room, trying to focus on something completely ordinary. And then suddenly your energy comes back into their mind. Wow. And this is important because the Four of Swords is not about chasing. It is not about forcing. It is not about running after someone and begging them to understand your worth. This card is psychological rest, emotional withdrawal, a pause, a forced timeout. And I feel like your silence has created that timeout for them. You pulled your energy back, or maybe life forced you to pull your energy back, and now they are sitting with the space you used to fill. They are sitting with the absence of your message, your warmth, your attention, your checking in, your emotional presence. And they did not expect it to feel this loud. So, if this is your situation, stay with me because this first card is already showing that while nothing may look like it is moving, something is absolutely moving inside them. Type "my silence is powerful" in the comments to lock into this energy. And listen, because this is where it gets deeper. No contact has not created peace for this person. It has created a mirror. And I feel like that is the part they were not prepared for because they thought the silence would give them relief. They thought distance would make things easier. They thought not talking to you would help them avoid the emotions, avoid the conversation, avoid the accountability, avoid that uncomfortable feeling of having to really look at what happened. But now the silence is not protecting them. It is reflecting them back to themselves. And that is why this energy feels so heavy. Because when your presence was there, when your messages were there, when your love, your patience, your understanding, your softness was there, they could focus on you. They could focus on what you said, how you reacted, what you felt, what you needed. They could make it about the connection. They could make it about the disagreement. They could make it about the timing. But without you there, they are starting to realize something. Maybe you were not the chaos. Maybe you were not the problem. Maybe you were the one trying to bring peace into a situation that they kept making confusing. Okay. And with this Two of Swords energy coming through now, there is this feeling of somebody covering their own eyes, not because they do not know the truth, but because they do not want to face it yet. They do not want to admit that your silence is making them see things more clearly. They do not want to admit that the person they blamed, avoided, dismissed, or misunderstood may have actually been the one holding the emotional balance. because you were the one checking in. You were the one trying to talk things through. You were the one trying to understand. You were the one carrying conversations that should have been shared. And now that you are not doing that, they are feeling the weight of what they refuse to carry. Wow. So when this person acts still, when they act quiet, when they act like nothing is happening, understand that the stillness is not empty. There is a decision building inside them. And the next part is important because this Two of Swords is showing what they are secretly afraid you have finally figured out. And what they are afraid you have figured out is that something has changed. Okay. Because with death coming through here, and I want you to hear this clearly, this is not about something scary. This is about an ending to an old version of the connection. An ending to the way things used to work. An ending to the version of you that would sit in confusion, wait for clarity, over-explain your feelings, and keep trying to make someone understand something they were choosing not to face. And I feel like they can sense that. They can feel that you are not looking at them the same way anymore. They can feel that your energy is different, even if you have not said one word. And that is what is making them nervous, because they are not just missing you. They are afraid you are waking up. They are afraid that the emotional fog is clearing, and now you can see what you could not fully see before. You can see the pattern. You can see the avoidance. You can see how many times they pulled back, went silent, changed the subject, acted confused, or made you feel like you were asking for too much. And listen, when you were still emotionally close to this person, they had access to certain things. They had access to your softness. They had access to your patience. They had access to your willingness to hear them out. They had access to your hope, but no contact has removed that access. So now they cannot distract you with a small message. They cannot charm their way around the truth. They cannot reset the situation with one casual conversation and pretend that nothing happened. They cannot confuse you as easily because you are not standing in the same emotional place anymore. Wow. And that is why this calm act is starting to crack. Because death is showing that something old is falling away, and they know it. The old dynamic, the old cycle, the old version of you who would always leave the door open just in case they decided to show up differently. They are feeling that door shift. And even if they are pretending they do not care, there is a part of them that knows your silence is not weakness. It is transformation. And the panic is not only because they miss you, it is because they are losing control over the story. And that is exactly what this Three of Wands reversed is showing me. Okay. Because upright, this card can be about waiting for something to come in, waiting for movement, waiting for a response, waiting to see what happens next. But reversed, there is this energy of somebody realizing that the thing they expected is not happening the way they thought it would. They expected you to reach out. They expected you to break the silence first. They expected you to send the long message, to ask what happened, to explain yourself again, to try to get closure from someone who may not have even been ready to give you honesty. They expected you to prove that you still cared, but you didn't. And I do not mean that in a cold way. I do not mean that as punishment. I feel like for many of you, you simply reached a point where your nervous system could not keep doing the same cycle anymore. You could not keep chasing clarity. You could not keep standing at the edge of someone else's emotional distance, waiting for them to finally turn around and meet you there. Wow. And that is why this is shaking them more than they want to admit. Because whether they were aware of it or not, they had a certain role they were used to you playing. You were the one who softened things. You were the one who tried to repair. You were the one who cared enough to keep the conversation alive, even when they were giving you very little to work with. They expected you to come back into that role. They expected you to make it easier for them. They expected you to open the door so they would not have to be the one to knock. But this time, something is different. You are not performing emotional labor just to keep a connection from collapsing. You are not handing them access to you just because they are uncomfortable with your absence. And listen, this is where the panic begins because your silence has interrupted the pattern. It has stopped the usual flow. It has made them realize they cannot just wait you out and assume you will return to the same place. So now they are standing in this reversed Three of Wands energy, looking out, waiting, expecting something from you, and slowly realizing you may not be coming toward them the way you used to. And the next part shows what they are doing behind the scenes while pretending they do not care. And with this Knight of Pentacles here, this is not loud behavior, okay? This is not somebody rushing in, making a scene, sending 10 messages, showing everybody that they are bothered. This is much quieter than that. This is slow, careful, almost too controlled. This is the person who acts like they are just going about their day. They get up, they go to work, they run errands, they answer other people, they keep their routine together. They might even look very normal from the outside. But then there is that phone. There is that moment where they unlock the screen and pretend they are checking something else, but really they are looking for you. They are checking to see if you posted. They are checking to see if your energy feels different. They are looking at a picture a little longer than they should. They are rereading something old and then putting the phone down like it did not affect them. Wow. And for some of you, this person may not be directly watching you in an obvious way. It could be through mutual people. It could be asking a question that sounds casual. It could be listening for your name in conversation. It could be noticing who you are around, what you are doing, whether you seem lighter, whether you seem happier, whether you seem like you are moving on, and they are trying to act like they are not looking. But they are looking. The Knight of Pentacles is patient, but it is also observant. It watches details, it notices patterns, it moves slowly because it wants to be sure. And I feel like this person is moving very carefully behind the scenes because they do not want to expose how much they still care. They may type something and delete it. They may open the message thread and not send anything. They may scroll late at night when nobody can see them and then convince themselves in the morning that it meant nothing. But listen, your silence is louder than any confrontation would have been because now they have nothing to react to except their own thoughts. And the most shocking part is not that they are watching. It is what they are realizing while they watch. And what they are realizing is that your absence has made your value louder, okay? Because with this Ace of Wands here, There is this spark. There is this sudden awareness. It is like something lights up in them, not in a loud, dramatic way, but in a way they cannot ignore anymore. They are realizing that you brought life into this connection. They are realizing that your energy was not something small. They are realizing that the way you cared, the way you showed up, the way you kept trying, the way you gave warmth, even when things were uncertain, that was not something they were supposed to take for granted. And I feel like this is hitting them in moments, not all at once. It is hitting them when they remember how you used to check on them. It is hitting them when they think about how patient you were. It is hitting them when they notice that nobody else responds the way you did. Nobody else listens the way you did. Nobody else makes them feel that mix of comfort and honesty the way you did. Wow. And this is where that Four of Swords energy comes back in, because the silence has become a forced review. They are being made to review what they had. They are being made to review what they dismissed. They are being made to review the emotional labor you were carrying, the forgiveness you kept offering, the softness you still had even when you were tired. And listen, this does not mean you did not hurt. This does not mean you were not confused. This does not mean you were not sitting there wondering why someone could feel so close one moment and so far away the next. For many of you, that pain was real. But what they are starting to see is that your love was real too. Your loyalty was real. Your effort was real. And now that they are not receiving it, they are beginning to understand that they were being held by something they did not fully appreciate when it was right in front of them. The Ace of Wands is that little spark of realization, that moment where they feel the urge to do something, say something, move something forward. But here is the tension. Even with all of this realization building inside them, they are still fighting themselves about reaching out. And that fight inside them is very real. Okay? Because with this Nine of Pentacles reversed, there is this energy of somebody trying to look independent, trying to look secure, trying to look like they are fine on their own, but internally, they do not feel as steady as they want you to believe. They may be telling themselves, I do not need to say anything. They may be telling themselves, if they cared, they would reach out. They may be telling themselves, I am not going to be the one to break first. But then the feeling comes back, the memory comes back, the urge comes back. And suddenly, that pride does not feel as strong as it did 5 minutes ago. Wow, this person is in a push and pull. One part of them wants to come toward you. One part of them wants to know if the door is still open. One part of them wants to hear your voice, see your name on their screen, feel that familiar comfort again. But another part of them is scared. Scared of what you might say. Scared that you will not respond the same way. Scared that your energy has changed so much that they will not be able to step back into the old place they had with you. And listen, that is important. What is blocking them is not necessarily a lack of feeling. It is the fear of facing you differently. Because if they reach out now, they cannot fully pretend they do not know what happened. They cannot fully pretend there was no pain. They cannot fully pretend they did not notice your absence. They cannot fully pretend that everything is simple. The silence has made things too honest. And with this Nine of Pentacles reversed, I also feel like they are wondering if you are becoming okay without them. That thought bothers them. Not because they want you to suffer, but because your independence shows them that they may have lost a place in your life that they assumed would always be waiting. So they may type something and delete it. They may imagine the conversation. They may wait for a sign that it is safe to approach. But if they do reach out, listen carefully because the message may not come the way you expect. It may come through this King of Pentacles reversed kind of energy, okay? Because this is someone who may want to appear composed, practical, mature, like they have everything under control. But reversed, there is something unstable underneath that image. There is pride here. There is hesitation. There is somebody who wants to come forward, but they may not want to come forward in a way that makes them feel exposed. So the message may look casual. It may look simple. It may be, "Hey, how have you been?" It may be a reaction to something you posted. It may be a question they already know the answer to. It may be something practical, something small, something that gives them a reason to step back into your energy without having to immediately say, "I miss you," or "I was wrong," or "I have been thinking about what happened." Wow. And listen, that does not mean there is no emotion underneath it. It means they may not know how to carry the emotion properly yet. This King of Pentacles reversed can be someone who is used to controlling the outside, the schedule, the routine, the image, the money, the work, the physical world. But when it comes to emotional honesty, they feel unsteady. They feel like they do not know what to do with all of this feeling that your silence has brought up. So instead of coming in with the full truth, they may test the temperature. They may try to see if you are still warm toward them. They may send something that feels almost too normal, as if there has not been all this silence sitting between you. And that is where you need to listen with your whole body. Not in an anxious way, not in a way where you are waiting and watching every little thing, but in a grounded way. Because the surface message may be small, but the energy behind it could be much bigger. They may be trying to find out if the door is still open without having to admit that they are the one standing outside of it. And the next part is important because the real question is not just whether they come back. It is whether they come back changed. And with this Five of Cups here, this is exactly why you cannot abandon yourself just because someone is finally feeling the weight of what happened. Okay? Because this card has such a heavy emotional feeling to it. It is that moment where somebody is sitting with regret, sitting with disappointment, sitting with the cups that spilled, sitting with what was lost, what was mishandled, what cannot just be ignored anymore. And yes, I do feel that this person is feeling something. But listen carefully. Their regret does not automatically become your responsibility. Their sadness does not mean you have to rush in and comfort them. Their panic does not mean you have to forget what it took for you to finally pull your energy back. Because for many of you, no contact was not easy. It was not some game. It was not you trying to punish them or make them suffer. It was you choosing peace because the confusion was becoming too expensive emotionally. Wow. And that is why this part matters so much, because the silence has not only exposed them, it has revealed you too. It has revealed how much you were carrying. It has revealed how many times you swallowed your feelings just to keep things calm. It has revealed how much strength it took for you to stop reaching, stop explaining, stop trying to be understood by someone who kept meeting your honesty with distance. And now you are different. Maybe you are softer with yourself. Maybe you are more protective of your heart. Maybe you are realizing that loving someone does not mean losing yourself in their uncertainty. And I feel like that is what this person is sensing. They are not just afraid that you are gone. They are afraid that the version of you who would accept the bare minimum is gone. Okay? So if they come back, the question is not, do they miss me? The question is, can they meet me where I am now? Because your energy has shifted. Your standards have shifted. Your heart may still care, but it is not standing in the same place it used to stand. And the old version of this connection may not fit the person you are becoming. So stay with me, because the final message is going to show what the cards want you to know before anything happens next. And with this Queen of Cups reverse coming through as the final message, this is very important, okay? Because this card is showing me an emotional overflow, but also an emotional return to self. It is that moment where the heart has felt so much, carried so much, understood so much, forgiven so much, that eventually it has to ask, what about me? And I feel like that is what this whole no contact period has been teaching you. Not to become cold, not to become bitter, not to shut your heart down, but to stop pouring from a cup that someone kept taking from without learning how to pour back into you. Wow. Because yes, this person may be panicking. Yes, they may be watching. Yes, they may be realizing what they lost access to. Yes, they may be feeling the weight of your absence in ways they never thought they would. But the deeper message is this: your absence has exposed what your presence used to protect them from feeling. When you were there, they did not have to sit with the silence. You filled it. When you were there, they did not have to face the emotional distance. You kept reaching across it. When you were there, they did not have to fully feel the consequences of their own avoidance, because your love kept softening the landing. But now they are feeling it and you are seeing it, and that changes everything. Because the Queen of Cups reversed is also asking you to be careful not to let your compassion pull you back into a place your healing has already outgrown. You can care and still have boundaries. You can miss someone and still choose peace. You can understand why they acted the way they did and still decide that understanding is not the same as accepting it again. Okay? So if they come forward, let them come forward with truth. Let them come forward with consistency. Let them come forward with more than panic, more than curiosity, more than a small message meant to see if you are still emotionally available. And if they do not come forward, your worth does not disappear. Your silence is still powerful. Your growth is still real. Your heart is still returning to you. Type "I choose my peace" in the comments if this message found you where you are. Because what is meant to recognize your value will not need you to chase it into awareness.